this video is probably gonna get me banned. I'm probably gonna be the first person to get banned on Art of Diplomacy. I'm gonna get banned before the game even gets released. That's honestly impressive, bro. But you wanna know what else is impressive? The fact that 98% of my viewers aren't even subscribed, bro. That's just insane, to be honest. I probably have the worst sub to not sub ratio in the entirety of YouTube. Like, imagine everybody just goes ahead and hits that subscribe button. Everybody watching right now. Actually, no, comment down how many subs I would have if my subs matched the view count on this video right now at the time you're watching this. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. And what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, Art of Diplomacy. Art of Diplomacy, the game which has been speculated to be the successor of Rise of Nations.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Now, I just don't think that's likely. And I'm going to be honest, guys, this video is just going to be a rant. I've seen tons of videos talking about how Art of Diplomacy is just going to be better than Rise of Nations and whatnot. You know, Rise of Nations has been there for years, and it's not easy to write all that code and get a functioning game like Rise of Nations. So most likely, Art of Diplomacy is going to have a ton of bugs and glitches, bro. It's going to be insane. The beta launch is going to be absolutely horrendous. You know, Ron wasn't made in a year or two. It was made over the span of, like, I don't know, to be honest. Actually, let me search that up. When was Ron made? Ron was made on 11/15/2018. So it's been there for about, I can't do math, bro. It's been there for about 7 years. Imagine all those bug fixes and all those glitch fixes and all those updates and things added to the game that were made in that span of 7 years. It's not that easy to beat. And for the people treating Art of Diplomacy being like a flippin' revelation and straight from the unseen is just insane, bro. Now, I honestly think Art of Diplomacy is gonna be a great game, alright? It's gonna be fun, you know, and I wanna be proven wrong. But what I'm saying is, it's just not going to be good as Rise of Nations. Rise of Nations is always going to have the bigger player count. It's just not going to be near. I don't think it's going to be that close. Now, I actually think the development of Art of Diplomacy is a good thing, because it's going to push the developers of Rise of Nations, and especially Hyperant, to push more updates, build more new things into the game. You know, might even convince him to change the UI. I actually do think the UI of Rise of Nations is going to change in like 5 years is a bit too much. Maybe in a year or two, the UI of Rise of Nations is going to be completely different. Because if I'm going to be honest, the UI of Rise of Nations is absolutely ugly, bro. It's horrendous, alright? I honestly don't understand how I can play more than 30 minutes looking at that UI. It should be changed. Art of Diplomacy just wins in the UI space. But yeah, getting back to my point, Art of Diplomacy is going to make Rise of Nations better, I guess. Also, another thing I wanted to talk about, this is a pro for Art of Diplomacy, is the game is much more fast-paced than Rise of Nations. Now, Rise of Nations is much more slower than Art of Diplomacy from what I've seen from the videos online. Art of Diplomacy is going to be much more fast-paced, maybe a bit too fast-paced. You might see that as a con, actually, instead of a pro. But I actually enjoy more fast-paced games. So yeah, maybe Rise of Nations will be a bit more fast-paced after the release of Art of Diplomacy. I don't know, I'm just speculating here, because Rise of Nations is just way too slow. So the competition is going to be there. Because to be honest, before the development of Art of Diplomacy, there was almost no competition to Rise of Nations. There were no Rise of Nations rivals, I guess you could say. There were those weird world painting games. I have no idea what they are, bro. You would also have games like Nation Rising Simulator, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it was called Nation Rising Simulator, but I don't want to talk about it too much. It's not at the level of Rise of Nations. But yeah, the pacing of Art of Diplomacy is just going to be a massive factor for anyone thinking about moving on to Art of Diplomacy. Another pro to Art is that I've seen that it's going to have more ideology. There's going to be like a monarchy ideology, I think, from what I've seen online. It's also going to actually have a good AI, which you can play against, unlike the AI in Rise of Nations, which is brain dead at this point. They like to say it will have formables, as they say here. Yes, it does have formables. Currently, there are only three formables. Anyways, it is going to also have some pretty new mechanics and new features, which is pretty creative. It's going to have world tension. I have no idea what that is, but you can kind of get the idea of it from the name. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I've got nothing else to say. Just wanted to get that off my chest so I can sleep peacefully tonight. And yeah, subscribe.